We're going to be talking about the ramifications of that simple phrase, freedom and choice. How complex can that be? We're joined by the Managing Director of Origo, Paul Pettitt, and Partner and Head of DB Member Options from Aon Hewitt, Ben Roe. So, Ben, regarding transfers out of DB schemes, what are the trends that you've been able to identify for us?
Sure. So I think it's fair to say that we've seen an increase in the number of transfers that we've seen from DB schemes over the last couple of years since the introduction of the new freedom and choice regime.
Yep.
And I guess we've got two key sources of that information. So just last week, I got some information from our administration team on the schemes that we administer, and looking at the rates of transfers, the actual volume of assets that's going out of our pension schemes that we administer has doubled compared to this time 2 years ago. So definitely seen an increase in the volume of transfers from DB to DC. Mm-hmm. Sat alongside that, we've also just carried out a survey of the schemes that we advise on an ongoing basis. And that backs up this trend. So what we've seen is a small increase across the board, because we're starting from a position of not many transfers happening to some level of transfers happening. Mm-hmm. But that's quite scheme specific. And we've seen the biggest increase for those schemes which are making automatic transfer quotes available to people at retirement, and also going a step further and making some access to free advice available as well. Mm-hmm. And when schemes are taking those two actions, we've actually seen rates rise to 30 to 40% of people are transferring at that point.
Yeah, we've also seen an increase in inquiries from third-party administrators looking to see how they can automate the process of transferring from DB into the DC world. Obviously, member expectations on moving their pensions getting faster and faster, so we're looking to make sure they can meet those expectations. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask, do you see this as a worrying trend? Should we as an industry be worried about it?
No, I think it's, again, we were chatting about this before we came in, and I actually think it's quite reassuring, though. We get feedback from members that have been through advice and the transfer process, and it's generally positive. And also we get the feedback from the IFAs as to why people are transferring, and there's usually very good reasons behind it.
Right, and they're not just moving it out and sticking it in the bank account or gambling with it on the 330 at Kempton Park.
Exactly that. It's people making informed choices. Yep. They've got good reasons for transferring. It's not right for everybody. But certainly it can be in some people's interest to do that.
Okay. You mentioned that wonderful phrase, informed choices. Do you think the industry is doing enough to actually help people with the choices that they're making, and what support is available for members in this area?
Yeah, it's certainly a growing area. So I certainly think that as an industry, we need to respond and provide education and guidance to people on the options that they have available. That could be paper-based materials, could be web-based support, and also help them just access the advice that they need as well. So if people do want to transfer and they've got more than a transfer value that's more than 30,000, they need to take advice in order to transact. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, people find that quite difficult to go out and find an advisor that they can actually trust. And understands pensions and can give them the support that they need. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I think that pension schemes have an important role in helping members to find that.
And do you think the pension schemes themselves should pay for that particular piece of consultancy for their members? Or should they be passing that on to the members?
It's a very good choice, and I think views are polarised on that point. Okay. So we certainly have some schemes who are happy to go out and provide that support to people, pay for that advice that people need. And to be honest, there is a quid pro quo in terms of there's some risk reduction in the pension scheme, there's often some deficit reduction that's coming through. Yeah. But that helps people to make informed choices, so it can be a win-win. Mm-hmm. But we've got some others who are just happy to leave it to member to go alone. Yeah. I think whatever happens, as a scheme, there's some buying power that's there just from the volume of members that's in there. Mm-hmm. So I think providing a route to getting that advice is quite important.
Yeah, indeed. From a financial advisor's point of view, it is a piece of business that you would really like. Exactly. It opens all sorts of doors. What are you doing at Origo to smooth and help this process through?
Well, we need to put in place the plumbing between third-party administrators and their schemes so that the data and the funds can flow through to the DC vehicle of choice, whether that be a scheme choice or an individual member wanting to move into, say, a SIP, where a lot of this money is ending up because of the decumulation capabilities that are built into SIPs these days. Yeah. And putting that plumbing in place is allowing that flow of data and money to move over.
It is painful, right? Has been painful up to
yeah,
now.
absolutely.
You know, having been on the edges of this industry for a number of years, the cry goes up, oh God, we've got a takeover. We need to clean the data. That's going to take 6 months at least. You know, and so for some poor soul wanting simply to move their money out from DB to DC and then invest it, it could be a minefield.
It could be quite difficult, and quite often they probably don't quite understand all the things they need to think about, which is coming back to the advice point. Sure. Mm-hmm. But if you can't get the data over, then it's even more difficult for them because they don't understand why that hasn't happened properly. No. And it can just end up with delays, and they don't understand why there's a delay, they don't know who to ask about it, and then everybody chases everybody, which just raises costs for everybody.
What do you do to make it easy?
Make sure that the data standards are agreed, so that you get it right first time. A transfer can only take place if the data's correct first time. Then it flows. There's no rework. There's no cost of rework. There's no phone calls. There's no chasing. It just goes. So members decided to move as a seeding scheme just wants that to happen as quickly and efficiently as possible, because at that point, choice has been made. It's leaving. So let's do that as efficiently as possible. It's just cost at that point.
I was going to say, are you making it cheaper? I hesitate to ask you about this because it may not be in your interest, but are you making it cheaper and more efficient?
Absolutely. Through our transfer service, we've got a lot of transfers going through that organisations have costed at less than £1 a transfer.
Right. Okay. And that's okay from your point of view?
It's great. I think making the process efficient and workable is really important because this is a big, complex area. Yeah. And schemes need to be administered. Members' benefits need to be paid. It's really important that it all works. Otherwise, it falls down and not good from anyone's perspective.
Ben, in that case, outline for me. You said this is quite a complex area as such. What are those key challenges for administrators at the moment?
So, from an admin perspective, they've already got a challenging job in terms of running the scheme on an ongoing basis. But what we are seeing is just an increase in volume of quotes that members are requesting about transfers, questions that they're asking, and I think by doing some groundwork, automating some of those processes so that it's easy to produce those quotes once people ask for that information, and actually going out and proactively providing members with that information, it actually makes the day job easier and makes it more efficient. So what we're tending to see is that doing some work, automating the processes, makes the rest of the work a bit easier.
Okay. And is there a will to do that? Do you find administrators are quite happy to, in a sense, make it easier, even though it's almost a bit of self-destruction? The fewer members, the less admin, the less administration jobs there are.
That's an unfair question.
I think in all of this, we've got trustees, companies that are the key people that are there, and administrators' jobs to do what our clients want.
Cool. All right. Okay. What about bulk transfers? We hear a lot about bulk transfers. What are the opportunities to improve the transfer process here?
Well, we've looked at bulk transfers, and a lot of the issues around agreeing the member data set that's going to move. Because that chops and changes while a transfer is being negotiated. So you've got a data issue. You then find a lot of spreadsheets getting passed backwards and forwards with member data on, which is maybe not as safe as it should be. So if we can improve that communication and streamline it, make it more secure, less open to hacking and the like, then we can improve the speed right first time, and have both seeding scheme and receiving scheme very clear about the members who are actually transferring. And that could take some time normally, but if it's visible to everybody off a central data source, then it's much more quickly agreed.
And so from another angle, as it were, if a member chooses to transfer their benefits, what impact might that have on their original pension scheme?
Yeah, sure. So thinking about it from the scheme perspective, if a member transfers out, we're losing the assets, we're losing the liabilities associated with that member. So at a simple level, you've got a smaller, less risky pension scheme going forwards. Fair to say also that the transfer terms are typically a best estimate of providing the cost of those benefits.
Yeah.
So set at a level below the funding reserve and the accounting reserve often, so can lead to reductions in the funding deficit, which might feed through to lower cash contributions going into the scheme. So there are benefits to both sponsors, trustees who are running pension schemes.
It's a very important trustee meeting that you have to be able to explain those particular issues, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. It's important that everybody understands the impact that transfers have. And even if people aren't taking any actions, there's still going to be some transfers that are going out of the scheme. So really important to understand those transfer terms and understand the impact that transfers has on the scheme finances.
Okay. Paul, as we come to a close now, summarise for me from your point of view, what are the key areas for improvement for schemes going forward?
The collection of member consents is obviously a key issue. Agreeing the data set of members who are going to transfer and then doing that securely and quickly.
Okay.
The simplest.
And Ben, from your point of view?
So from my perspective, it's about communication, so making sure people are informed of the choice that they have up front, making that process easy from an administrative perspective, and then making sure people have access to support so that they can make an informed decision on the options that they have.
On that note, Ben and Paul, thank you very much indeed.